It's not the slice of the pie, it's the size of the pie. Can you talk a little bit about that particular philosophy as well, Michael, that I learned from you in terms of the slice versus size of the pie and how important it is to think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think very good analogy, and I keep honing out about it just because it works. And I know it works. We see it time and time again. You look at the guys from Afterpay when they initially started their business, sitting on about 50% each in terms of shareholding ownership. And 4 years later, when they sold the business at $39 billion, they owned about 7% of the company. Now, why was that? Is because they needed to bring in the right people along the way, which they obviously gave them a share of the business. They've also needed to bring on investment, a substantial amount of investment. So they were happy. They knew that based on the money coming in, they had a clear plan to scale the business and knew that they could increase the value of their shares. So they were happy to give away a chunk of their business to get it to where it needed to go to. Keep honing on about the fact that I'd rather own 10% of $1 billion business than 100% of $1 million business. It's just the way to do it. You can bring the right people, you can incentivize them in the right way, everyone wins, and it's the way to do it. I think going back to your point around accountability, I think is super important to touch on, because all the businesses I've run in the past, we've had a non-executive director, for example. What that does is if you've got a few co-founders, it essentially creates tension in the business and keeps you accountable as a management and leadership team to do what you say you're going to do. Because if you're promising investors things and you've got a plan that you need to execute on based on their investment, you want to make sure that you've got that middle person that keeps you accountable. And so going back to what you've just said around your personal coach, etc., you're happy to pay because you know that investment in yourself stays with you forever, number one, and there's no better investment. You can invest in property at 7% annually, which now it's a negative growth at the moment. You can invest in the share market, you can invest in companies and get great return. If you invest in yourself, if you're a person who can't invest in yourself, how do you expect an external person to invest in you and back you running a company? Like that, it makes no sense. I think that's super important element to cover. And then around the shares, absolutely. Bringing the right people into the business to take it to where it needs to go to. And you happily can give away shares. Obviously, there's things that you learn about as a business owner, such as investing and what that means, where you basically have to own your shares for a certain period of time for them to activate. So you give comfort to shareholders and give comfort to management team, because essentially if there's no business, there's no business.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the percentage of shareholders, like recently advising companies and business owners, if you're doing $300,000 a year and you own 100% of that business, that's well and good, but it's the same as owning 10% of a $3 million business per year profit as well. That has the potential to exit for 10 million, and that 10% turns into $1 million exit pay. So sometimes people are looking at business the wrong way. So they're looking at it maybe for how much money does this make per week or per month, or not realizing that the actual business is building it up to the point where you can exit for what we call a capital event. Is what is the exit of this? Every game has a time frame and has an exit. No game exists forever, and it's same with business as well. You need to treat business as, before you jump into it, what are the rules? What's the plays? What's the exit? What do I want out of it? It's such a great game of life because it's been around since it forever.
Yeah, and it's going to want different things, right? You might want a business that's a cash flow type of business that you can bring people on and you can go away and you get paid passively at some point, right? Or you might be a person that's looking for your payday and exit a business, or you might be a company that's looking, you want to create a company that exists beyond your lifetime. So you might list that business on the like Zuckerberg. As with Facebook, he started that business, obviously listed it on the NASDAQ, and happy days, right? So it all comes down to just understanding what you want to, and then understanding what resources you're going to need to bring in to be able to achieve that. And for that, you've got to give up away some of your business, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. It's just, as long as you know that action or that activity is going to get you to the next level, it's great.